Hello, everyone. How you doing today? As everybody logs into our webinar, we have a full house today. All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Brian. Oh, and there's Brian. Okay. So we have some old friends here on the webinar. Hi, everybody. All right. So before we get started, let me introduce myself. I'm Larry Port. If you don't know who I am, I'm the CEO of Rocket Matter. I don't define myself as the CEO of Rocket Matter only. Husband, father. I got 2 dogs and a cat and a fish. I'm an animal lover. I'm an author. I write a lot. I'm a Little League coach, although those days are kind of coming to an end because my kid's like 14 now and it's all travel ball and it's crazy. I'm a fighter of hate, active in the Anti-Defamation League, and I am a seeker of wellness. I'm always like meditating and exercising when I'm not running Rocket Matter or doing the rest of these things. With me today is Jason. Hey, Jason.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah, you know, they can't respond. Yeah, so when I was writing up this slide, my wife was like, "What are you going to write here?" And I said, I'm going to put golfer, husband. And she was like, "You're going to put golfer before husband." So I own a Great Dane. He might make a appearance later on. Poker player, home cook, and I like to lift weights as well.
All right. So let's get started. And the other thing I want to draw attention to is that like a lot of the ideas that we'll be discussing are rooted in a lot of the ideas that I wrote in the Lean Law Firm with attorney Dave Maxfield from South Carolina. It's an ABA book. And so, you know, seeing your firm as a system and understanding where the efficiency are, paperless, e-signatures, secure file sharing, all that stuff is goes into becoming more efficient and increasing profitability. We'll be talking about that. I also host 2 podcasts, the Lean Law Firm podcast and the 10-Minute Law Firm podcast. Jason, I need to get you on a podcast. I haven't had you on a podcast
That'd be
yet.
Great. I'd love to join one.
All right. We'll have you on both. Now, oh, and we always do this too. We have a free giveaway. It's this, we've given away tortilla blankets. We gave away Garfield sock last time. We are going to give away the Hog Wild Holiday Elf Popper. It's this little elf, and when you squeeze its body, a ball shoots out of its nose to 1 lucky attendee. Now, but you have to be interactive. We're going to choose somebody that's like interactive during the webinar. That means somebody that is asking questions, somebody that's involved with the chat, you know, somebody that's participating. So we will give one of these puppies away to 1 lucky individual. And for everybody else, we do have a promotion that we're going to be doing with the Imagine Share product, which is that any Rocket Matter customer that's now, or if you sign up by the end of the month, you're going to get 50 free e-signature sends and a month of Imagine Share. So let's dive right in. And we're going to do this in 2 parts. We're going to do the e-signature part, and we're going to do the secure file sharing later. By the way, getting some good reactions to the elf popper. Somebody said at least it comes out of the nose. Somebody says that they have always had their heart set on one of these things. So we're going to do part 1, e-sigs. Now, this was interesting to me because I've been using, as I'm sure a lot of you have, e-signature. In fact, I bought a house that was through e-signature. And, you know, we recently, for those of you that don't know, like Rocket Matter became part of a larger organization that Imagine Time and Imagine Share is also part of, called ProfitSolve. And during that transaction, that was all digital too. So I'll tell you what, it was really interesting going into the actual laws and looking at this thing. So all of this is governed by something called the Uniform Electronic Transaction and the Electronic Signature in Global and National Commerce Act. Or e-sign. So UETA and e-sign. And e-sign is kind of 20 years old at this point. It's like it was in 2000. So so in terms of the ethics of all this kind of stuff, just so you know, is that pretty much these things take effect in every jurisdiction in the United States because there's a federal law that pretty much supersedes everything else called e-sign. And so check this out. This is actually the law that was passed. The federal law, and I have a link to it. We're going to be distributing these slides, so you can like click on the link, and if you really want to read it, peruse it. But so check this out. This is where it is. So the Section 5 electronic signature, the term electronic signature means an electronic sound, symbol, or process attached to or logically associated with a contract or other record and executed or adopted by a person with the intent to sign the record, right? So a lot of very carefully worded language there. So, and a lot of things, I mean, I always just thought like e-signature, like, you know, there is the signature, and that's why it can be a font, right? Because it's the intent to sign, it's from somebody, and it's, and then like if you're Prince, you're in good shape because your name is a symbol, or I guess was a symbol, right? What the other thing that's kind of interesting, what about this, like the electronic sound thing? So like, you know, I mean, Jason, you have this product. Like, I don't know if does you and you tell us if
I don't think that's legally binding if you just play that sound. I don't think
it said it. No, it says that if it's an electronic sound, and if it's my intent to sign it with that, you know, that's the situation. I mean, so I was thinking also a good like electronic signature. Another one might be this one, which is the hamster dance, which is unavailable, and this one. So I'm just wondering if can imagine Cher do this for me. So anyhow,
we don't have that yet. I can talk to our VP of product and see if we can add that to the roadmap. If people need that.
Somebody said they want their signature to be a heavy sigh. So, all right. What's so great about e-signatures? So first of all, during COVID, they're awesome because it enables, you know, contract signing during COVID. You don't have to be in person, right? It eliminates waste. And I mean, think about the manual processes that are eliminated by sending things back and forth or worse yet, like faxing things back and forth. And it just makes people happy. It is just so much easier to sign these things. And, you know, I actually asked the, you know, the Jason and his team, like, why do e-signature matters? All right. So we have like top 10 answers on the board. Actually, just however, I think you guys gave me 5. So this is what, all right. And you tell me if you have any comment on this. Go ahead, Jason.
I was wondering what the Steve Harvey angle was. So you kind of talked about it, is that we're making things more efficient. And the first one is when you do signatures in a normal way, you have to make follow-up calls to clients saying, hey, can you get that back to me? Did you receive that? So we're going to reduce a lot of those follow-up calls. Maybe, you know, sometimes the owners of the firms do it, or, you know, but usually it's the admin staff, or sometimes it's the attorneys themselves. But whoever is doing it, it's just a waste of time. There are a lot more important things to be doing. It also is a lot less legwork for the clients. If you're doing it through a traditional way where they have to print it out, sign it, scan it, send it back, that means they have to have a printer, a scanner, or a fax machine. And with this, there's no hardware required besides a computer or a phone. So it's a lot easier for them. And they can also sign from anywhere. So they don't need to be at their house. If they're, and if you guys are using this internally, you can sign documents when you're at court. If your clients are on vacation, it's just a lot quicker to do it when you don't have to be tied to a location. And there's a full audit trail. So every document that's signed has the IP address it was signed from, what browser was used, the email address that was signed in to sign the document. So from a legally binding standpoint, you have all of this data with every single document. When I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of times, people will take a document to their car and sign for their spouse, or, you know, signatures can be, you know, forged. And in this situation, you have a full audit trail on every signature.
We're getting a lot of questions, which is good. So you're saying firms that start using e-signatures don't go back. So there's a lot of questions. There's questions around how do you do it? Is it with Adobe? Are there automatic reminders and so on and so forth? So we'll get into all that because we're going to actually see the transmission of an e-signature. And yes, clients can use, somebody asked if clients can use that. Yes, clients can absolutely use it. So let's keep going. One other thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that the e-signatures, because they're so much more efficient to do things, it is a huge eliminator of waste. So when I talk about how to manage law firms from my perspective with a lean law firm and so on and so forth, this is a big idea. This comes directly from the Toyota production system. You have this category of 7 different types of waste, right? And the cool thing about e-signatures is that it eliminates a number of these forms just with this one tool alone. So for example, transportation waste, there's no moving of product or inventory around at all, right? That's a major form of waste. Another one is waiting. Like, so a lot of processes are held up because of the waiting for signatures. When we remove that wait period, and it can be done instantly, we compress the amount of time it takes to work on something. And the other thing is overprocessing. So with overprocessing, that's when you're just using too much effort to do a certain job. And all these things combined are what they end up doing is they end up reducing what we call your cycle time. And this is a hugely important concept. For those of you that are insurance defense lawyers, you already know about this. And for those of you that read the Lean Law Firm book or listen to the podcast, you know that how critical this is, because this is one of the components that's going to dictate how much money you're going to make in a given year. It's part of what we call the income formula. But basically, the core idea is that the shorter the amount of time that you spend working on a given case, it results in more money for you over the course of a year. And e-signature eliminates a lot of waste and is a major driver of reducing cycle time. Now, in terms of ethics, right? By the way, for those of you at the Florida bar, and this is a Florida bar CLE, you get an hour of ethics credit for this, an hour of General CLE credit, and an hour of technology credit. So it's like a total CLE hat trick. Stay to the end, and we'll tell you what the code is. This link I have for you, and there's an ethics opinion dealing with them, but the form of signatures, like so. Electronic signatures are totally cool with the Florida bar, just so you know, right? Now, are there exceptions, which is the question, right? Are there exceptions? And everybody wants to know this because, like, I do wills, I do this, I do that. Now, back in 2003, and this is a long time ago, there were 9 exceptions listed, and they have been updated since then. Like, so for example, what they're saying here is wills, codicils, which no longer exists, is no longer relevant, at least in the state of Florida. Laws governing domestic law matters, state uniform commercial code, oh boy, court orders or notices, utility cancellation notices, default foreclosure, health or life insurance, product recall notices, and hazarded, toxic or dangerous material notices. Now, that's not necessarily true anymore, right? So some of those things have been updated, and if those exceptions fall within your purview, and Jason, you may know some of these, if some of these have been overridden since 2003, but just so you know, is that electronic, let me go back just so you can see this, but in Florida, just this year, electronic wills and remote notarization took effect, right? Now, the advice is that you have to have something like this in there. I, being sworn, declare, like if you look at this paragraph, I don't want to read through the whole thing. Electronic will, you see how the text is there. So this is totally doable in estate planning, which you would think, like, they're so careful about the staples have to be a certain way for wills and so on and so forth. But no, it's now totally legit. And there was this thing called the Uniform Electronic Wills Act. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, again, in the slides, you'll have the link.
Yeah, Larry, I mean, it's not a universal thing where, nationally everyone has made this decision. It is state by state on a lot of these different types of documents. So I would advise people that will be using this, if you're unsure about the legality of a certain document being an e-signature available document, I would check to see if there's been updates or if it's been explicitly written as this is acceptable through e-signature.
Right. And again, especially since this is Florida bar, if you're practicing in multiple jurisdictions in different states, you definitely want to look into the electronic wills. But where you want to start, if you're concerned, is this slide here where it says exceptions, right? When you get this tomorrow, or when you're going to do your research, or if you're taking a screenshot of this now, whatever, this is where you want to start your research, okay? Now, we have to go through all my animations again. And done. All right. By the way, how much do you want to get a hold of this stuff? I like totally want this Flex Seal stuff.
I want to ride in that boat that they made out of it.
The Flex Seal, Flex Seal boat. All right. So that'd
be perfect right now with all the rain.
I'm going to flip my screen, and so why don't you go ahead and grab the screen share?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to show my 2 sons on the screen here, and we'll start. So the e-signature platform that we are partnered with is called AssureSign, and there's a couple different ways that you can send e-signatures using our platform. So there's the standard way where you guys are, you've done this before if you've ever used DocuSign or Adobe Sign or PandaDoc or any of the other platforms that are out there. And if it would load, there you go. This is where you can just create a custom form, and this could be an engagement letter, a business contract, just an overall legal contract, whatever the document is. If it's a situation where it's a one-off, where you guys need to send out a file for somebody to sign, you can upload that file and you can do it in a completely customizable way where you can add a signer. So pretend like Tom Hanks is our client who needs to sign a document today, and you can email this to the client, or you can actually send a text message. And I'll just type in his email. And once you have the signer decided, you then have the full capability to say, okay, I want them to sign right here, put the date right here. I want their initials at the top of this page. So you guys basically have full control over how you would send this document out. And you guys are used to this whenever you're sending the paper documents. When you put the little sign here stickies, that's the exact same process that we're doing here. But the more streamlined way to do this is through our little Outlook plugin widget. And we also have this for Gmail users as well. So let's say our client, Tom Hanks, we need him to sign this legal contract. And this can represent whatever e-signature document you guys want it to represent.
These are his royalties from Bosom Buddies?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So inside of the Outlook, you guys will have a little plugin that says Imagine Share, and this will have the option to request signature. So whenever you do this, you can click on that, and this is just like attaching a regular file to an email. So I'll grab the file that I need signed. So I have legal contract right here, perfect. And the way that we optimize this is, if you guys have used e-signature before and you do a process similar to what I just showed you on the website, it takes a little bit of time to manually place the boxes every single time and tell the client to sign here and put the date here. Thank you to whoever said cute pooches, I appreciate that. But in this case, if it's a contract that you guys are getting signed with regularity, and they always need to sign in the same place and put certain data in the same place, instead of having to manually place the boxes on there every single time, you have the option of having a template for those certain documents. So I have a template for this legal services contract right here. And if you have the client in your database already, you can just type in their name. If they're a new user, you can just type in add new and add first and last and email address. But in this case, we've worked with Tom Hanks before. So I'll create the link, and that manual process that if you normally have to upload a file and place the boxes on there and type in the email address and all that, that would usually take about 2 minutes. We will do that automatically for you in about 7 or 8 seconds. It will populate into your regular Outlook as an encrypted link, sent with 256-bit encryption. Click send, and that's it. Now let me show you go ahead.
Just one thing to mention is that, and somebody asked this question, and you can probably address it, like what happens if you have like multiple people that need to sign it? And you can actually, what's amazing about these tools is you can specify multiple signers, you can specify a sequence. And like when we had to do our transaction with Rocket Matter, we had these different shareholders, and one would sign it and then it would go to the next one automatically without anybody doing anything. And before you knew it, everybody signed it. And we did a similar thing, with like estate planning documents where we had to have like, trustees and people sign it, and like it just went in order. And then you had one consolidated document with all these signatures. So it is like unbelievably efficient.
Yep.
But go ahead, Jason.
Yep. So this is what it looks like on the client's end. They click review and sign. Now we also have the option to add security questions, and I'll show that later on in the file sharing portion of the demo. But when the client gets it, the key here is when you're dealing with clients, they're not always going to be as tech savvy as you guys. And we want to make the process for them to do what you're requesting as easy as possible. So if they're required to create an account and remember a username and password, it really stops the process a lot of the time. So we'll show you how we optimize that later on. But in this case, Tom Hanks just needs to type in his email address, and I have the Michael Jordan logo here as an example. Whatever your firm logo is, it will be attached to any document you send out, so it looks really professional. They know it's you guys. And once I type my email address, I'm brought to the e-signature platform. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been on the signing end of e-signature before, but the beauty of it is you can do it from any device. So I'm on a computer, so I will have the option to sign with my mouse or my keyboard, but more and more clients, as we talked about being able to do it from anywhere, are on their phones and on their tablets. In that case, they can sign right on the screen with their finger or a stylus. They don't have to download an app. They don't have to create an account or sign into anything. They can go ahead and just sign here.
They can upload their sad trombone music, or no, not yet.
Not yet. No, that's on the roadmap. So
Okay.
we'll get it there. And then once they sign, they haven't actually signed anything yet. So they sign to enter into the document, but we actually allow full scrollability of the document that they're signing before they apply it, which is really important when it comes to legally binding documents. So once they're satisfied and they've read through the whole document, they can apply their signature, type in the date, click continue, finish. They're done. That's the whole process. You guys will get an email notification that they've signed it. They'll get a copy on their side as well, and that's the entire process. And the biggest thing to remember here is that I'm guessing that very few of you wake up and think about file sharing on a daily basis and getting documents signed. But once you guys are used to waiting and you're used to having to make those follow-up calls, you probably don't realize how much time you're wasting, as Larry was talking about, waiting for these documents to come back. It's as soon as you start to use this process, it's so much more efficient. You realize, how did we never do this before? We should have done this 10 years ago. And it's just a much better way to do it.
It's kind of like, in that way, it's a lot like Flex Seal.
It's the same thing.
It's kind of the same as Flex Seal. So a couple of questions. People are asking if it is an independent tool of, or is it part of Rocket Matter? No, this is Jason. They're their own company. They're their own product. It is, the company is Imagine Time. The product that he's showing is part of something called Imagine Share. We are going to be integrating with their product in Q1 or Q2 of next year, so that like you can like create an engagement letter from Rocket Matter and instantly have it signed and sent out through this process. So that's going to be really exciting. But right now, they work independently. And a lot of your, and Jason, can you speak to that? A lot of your customer base that uses Imagine Share and uses this electronic signature uses it side by side or independently of another platform, correct?
Absolutely. I would say the majority of users do it that way. And one of the reasons is it allows you guys full flexibility to do whatever documents you want. A lot of the tools that are integrated, they limit you to only certain documents, and it's a much more cumbersome process. When you can do it in this way, it makes it so you guys can do whatever you need to, and it's really quick. And the templates that we built in also make it really easy for you guys to do it as efficiently as possible.
Okay. Am I screen sharing now? You should see the Flex Seal guy.
Yeah,
okay. Another question that somebody had is, let me see if I can go back to the chat. It'll come back to me. No, freestanding product. Somebody asked if this does notary stuff. I can't imagine that does notary stuff, because that was like just legalized, like kind of like, or it just suggested to be legalized like in 2019 or 2020. So I think that the technology still is probably catching up to that. But Jason, you probably have a better beat on that than me.
E-notary is a separate type of feature that we don't currently have. It's not part of the AssureSign offering, but at some point we will.
No, somebody said, yeah, because it's very early. Like, remember, e-signature, it was through the e-sign act that was enabled in 2020. That's why there's options out there. But, you know, it was just really in 2019 where this like e-notary idea kind of came out. And it is legal now in Florida. So it's going to take a while for the tech to catch up. And as Tina pointed out in our chat, somebody asked if that, does this work in Outlook only, or does it work with other email softwares?
It also works with Gmail or Yahoo or any other browser-based email system that you guys want to use. We have an extension built in for Chrome that is just as slick as what I showed you guys in Outlook. I also saw that Gary had a question about, Gary Bouchard, about agreeing to the terms and conditions, essentially. When I first showed it before I before I signed the document, I had a little checkbox that said I accept the terms and conditions, saying I'm signing this document, I understand what I'm doing. That was the first part before they actually got into the e-signature product. So good question, Gary.
Yeah, there's a lot of good questions in here, so
Yep.
keep them coming. And you know what? Actually, now's a good time for us to kind of launch a poll before we get into part 2. By the way, there is no part 3, and you know, in terms of The Godfather, I still stand by that as well. There is no part 3. So let's do a poll. All right. The question is, like, where are you with e-signature software? I'm very curious. Are you already using it and loving it? Are you using it, but like kind of sucks and I need an alternative? Thinking about it, haven't started yet, you know? So I'm curious about this actually myself. As a legal consumer, I'm not a lawyer. Let me make that clear, but I use lawyers all the time. I feel like it's exclusively e-signature, at least from me, is the direction that I've taken lately. All right, we've had about 54% of the people voting. Let's just share the results. What are your impressions, Jason?
That is about average. Usually it's about 20% have something and like it. 10%.
The most often responded answer, is that called the mode in statistics? I think that might be called the mode. Thinking about it, 41%.
Yep, that's where a lot of people are at, especially with COVID going on. It's brought all of this stuff to the forefront, when before it was more of a, yeah, that would be nice to have. Now it's becoming, we really need to have something like this available.
All right. And then, you know what, while we're in the polls, let's go ahead and just do the second one, which is, it has to do with secure file sharing. It's about client portal. Are you using a client portal? Yes, and I love it. Yes, and I am neutral about it. Yes, and I can't stand it. Not yet, but looking, not on my radar. Can I tell you something about somebody who actually like developed a client portal by hand? Like I coded the client portal for Rocket Matter back in the day, or at least I worked on part of it. Like everybody wanted a client portal. Guess how much? I would say we get about 10% usage of the client portal.
That's about right. Yeah, it's 10 to 20% would be the industry average of people actually. So are you saying 10% of Rocket Matter users use it, or 10% of?
No, 10% of Rocket Matter users use the online portal. Now, of that population, oh wait, hold on a second. Here you go. Here you go. These are the results.
All right, that's encouraging. We've got good stuff for you guys then.
Yeah, the thing is like, not that I'm bitter about this whole thing, that coding it and only 10% of the people use it. I'm sure that 10% of the people that use it like love it and are like totally, but there are definitely issues with it. So we're going to get into portals and some of the pitfalls around them.
Cool.
And then, by the way, we should define it because somebody asked what that was. And I guess we can define a client portal by like a secure website or app, we can even call it, where somebody could log in and have access securely to certain things like calendar events, documents, so on and so forth. Correct?
That's a pretty good, it's more file based, I would say, generally.
Yeah.
Where they need to log, they're uploading files, they're downloading files that were delivered to them from their attorneys. It's just a central repository for files that are being shared between two parties or multiple parties, actually.
All right. So let's get into email, because so many legal documents are sent through email. So these are kind of your slides.
Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about these.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that I think people know this, but it's not really talked about explicitly. It's kind of like, oh yeah, we kind of know email is not secure, we shouldn't be doing that. But people still do it every single day. And maybe it's because you don't understand how it works, or you just don't understand the true dangers of it. But the way that email works from a very simplistic viewpoint is, if I was sending a file to you, Larry, on the way to your email, it bounces around multiple public email servers on the way. Now, those email servers have people just like these guys right here, and they look just like this as well. They have the bandanas on. They're trying to steal.
Familiar.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So they look like this, and they're trying to steal the files that you're sending back and forth. So we want to avoid that as much as we can, because it's surprising how little information is needed to steal somebody's identity or do something fraudulent, the way that it's characterized is two personally identifiable information points. So if a document has a name and address, a phone number and birth date, obviously social security numbers and things like that, but it's crazy how simplistic it can be and how normal it can seem to have on a document, but you still want to have that information protected. And here's the data, and you know, basically it costs a lot to have a data breach, and it's not like once you have 100 data breaches suddenly you're at risk. It only takes one email that's stolen for the fines and the ramifications to happen, and it depends on what the document is and what overseeing body is regulating that. But you might have to notify all of your clients that you had a data breach. You might have to pay for 12 months of what's the term?
Fines?
No, the viewing of your credit audit for the next 12 months of like Equifax, making sure your identity isn't stolen.
Okay.
I've had plenty of firms that had to pay for their clients to have that ability. So, and it's every single year it increases. When I first started doing this webinar in 2017, it was a 46% increase, and now in 2019, it's a 54% increase from that. Every year it's getting more and more popular, especially now that so many things are going back and forth through email with our current situation, that it's even more is up to be stolen.
Gotcha. Right. So they have to pay for the credit monitoring. Before we get back into your slides, yeah, I want to point out where this falls in ethically for everyone, right? So the obvious one is Model Rule 1.6, which is that a lawyer shall make reasonable efforts to prevent the inadvertent or unauthorized disclosure of or unauthorized access to information relating to the representation of a client. And I mean, let's be frank, right? Like to some extent, this goes towards competency. Like if you're sending very secure information in an insecure way, like you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, it goes to the core of what you're doing as an attorney in terms of keeping your client stuff confidential. In terms of what the Florida Bar has to say about all of this, so there's a fantastic article that was written by, you know, it used to be called, I think it's still called LOMAS, but they call it like Legal Fuel. It's this amazing resource that we have with the Florida Bar. So I have the link to the article here. But if you do a search for, are your client communications secure? And you do a search for, you know, with Florida Bar, Legal Fuel, right? Advises members to go with paid business class cloud service subscriptions over free service offerings, right? To avoid inadvertent access to lawyers' data and information. So basically, the thing is when you use free services like Gmail or other things, if you're using any service that's free, the product is you. You always got to remember that. Like, it's not your profile on Facebook, it's Facebook's profile on you, right? Now, you're not sending client communications through Facebook, but the point is that if it's free, you're the product. So pay for this stuff is the point. And that's what they're saying here with the Florida Bar. Now, there's an article that's referenced here that you can track down. The other thing is that they have this ethics opinion 10.2 about using cloud computing resources to send secure files. And there is a burden on you as the attorney to kind of know what you're getting involved with, right? So all of the ethics guidelines around the usage of cloud computing and technology tools like this to transmit secure document puts a burden on the attorney to at least understand the basics of this kind of stuff so that you know what's going on. Like, you know that it's a reputable provider, and you know that, you know, you're not getting in bed with a crazy outfit or anything like that. So, all right, back from the ethics stuff, back to you.
Cool. So yeah, we want to go over just the differences between a regular email attachment and how a client portal works. And we'll show a demo after this, so that will give some clarity if you guys don't fully understand what we're talking about. But there are a lot of advantages to doing things through secured means compared to just a regular email. So when you're using a client portal, it is a situation where they have a link and they sign in with a username and password and access the file that you have sent to them or files. With an email attachment, you can put a password on top of that PDF if you've if you're well versed in technology, you'll know that that really isn't enough anymore. But if you're just sending through email, there's no way to really verify who that person is besides sending it to the correct email address. Okay, and then the other big advantage is if you are sending a share link, you have the option to be able to expire that document. So if you don't want it to be available after 7 days, you can absolutely expire it. If you send it to the wrong person, or if you know that that file has been circulated in a way that you don't want it to be circulated, you can revoke that because it's a link and it's not something that is living in that email anymore. You can revoke it. When it comes to regular email attachments, you can't expire it. You can't revoke that email that you sent with the file. So you don't have as much power over the document once it's been sent. And then the audit is really important too. So when you're sending it through a link, you can see all the activity as to who uploaded the document, who accessed it, who downloaded it. With an email attachment, you guys don't have any of that control. It's just a document floating around there in the public email servers. And then the other big advantage is large file transfer. I'm sure you guys have ran into the situation where the file was too big for email. If you guys were sending important, usually it might come through a CD if you have to do that. So this is also a big efficiency gain. So if it's too big for email, you guys said, oh, just bring it over on a flash drive or send it to me in a CD. This allows really large files to be sent because you're not going to run into the normal email limitations of Outlook and Gmail and the other public email servers. And you also don't have to take up storage on your hardware, on your hard drive, because the files are being stored up in the cloud instead of on your local device.
Gotcha. By the way, somebody asked what the name of the company is again. Jason is with Imagine Time, and the product is called Imagine Share. We're going to see it in a second here.
Yep.
We're just kind of going over the basic kind of like theory about why you want to do it. I got to be honest, from my perspective, all of these are huge. Like, I really like a couple things here. Like, number one, I like being able to see, and by the way, I don't know if you can hear me because it's like raining like cats and dogs outside.
Totally clear.
It's the idea that you can actually like go in there and see who is like viewing your document, if they're opening it or not, because that is such a critical thing to have over email. That you can actually tell who's looking at your document, and the fact that you can set an expiration and you have just like total control access over things. And also there's the audit trail of all that stuff. It's not just you viewing it; it's the audit trail and the reality behind that. So if there's any sort of legal situation, all of that data is present on that file log as well. Gotcha. Let's see. There's like a debate going on. There's this guy, Mark, who says that he doesn't trust the e-signature software because of, I guess, the terms and conditions and the ability for like people with superior knowledge to manipulate electronic files. What can you say? Like, how would you answer that kind of concern?
Let me see what Mark said. Okay, maybe a few people like me who just refuse to sign e-sign because I don't want to agree to them.
See, this is like real-time Q&A. How cool is this? And somebody's asking about MCLE credits. This has Florida Bar credits for 1 hour of technology, of ethics, and of general purpose, or whatever they call it. So we'll get to that code at the end of the presentation. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Mark's question, I mean, I totally understand, apprehension towards using something new, but it's a little bit vague as to what the one-sided terms and conditions would be. I don't know if he means from the actual e-signature company themselves, or if just the nature of signing an e-signature document. So if Mark wants to be a little bit more specific, then I can answer that more accurately.
Yeah, and I would say that, like, when we initially launched back in 2009, there was like a lot of concern about using cloud, because Rocket Matter is a cloud storage, and up to then, like, all practice management systems were pretty much on-prem, things like Time Matters, PC Law. But now we've gone to this kind of like extreme where, like, what sounds more secure to people? That your data is hosted by a cloud provider on a service like Microsoft Azure, or on, or Amazon, or is the server next to the like printer in the back of your office next to the coffee machine? So, it's kind of, the notion of like security and especially with cloud security, is kind of like tipped in some ways towards people feeling more comfortable with cloud providers. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon that's happened over the past couple of years.
Yep.
Okay, so here's the thing, and I'm wondering if before we get to this thing, if you should show a portal and how it works over email so that people can see that. I think it would make more sense to do that because one of the issues with portals, as you'll see, but I think in order for people to have context, there's some people in the audience that need to see what a portal looks like. So let's at this point switch the share so you can demonstrate portal and then how everything works through the Outlook.
Yep. All right. So this is the Imagine Share client portal. And I want to stress there are a lot of client portal and file sharing systems out there. This is how we do it. They're all very similar, to be frank. Really, you just want to make sure that they are 256-bit encryption, and really any system you're using shouldn't be imposing data storage limits anymore because storage is not as expensive as it used to be. So you have unlimited storage with us. You can set up an unlimited amount of clients. Think about this as whenever you guys log into your bank account online and you only see your own information and your own accounts, that's the same experience for the clients as well. So when Tom Hanks logs into the portal, and we've got Michael Jordan Law Firm here, when he logs in, he will only see this space and all of his folders and files that you guys have set up for him. So that signed legal contract that we did earlier, it's already stored on his portal. And that's one of the best things about having this system integrated directly with your portal, is that you're not having to do duplicating processes. We got that document signed, it's automatically stored up on the client's portal for them. Even if that client is not using the portal to access the files, you guys have it stored in an organized fashion for you. So you can upload as many files as you need to. You guys can use this purely for internal collaboration. You can use this for opposing counsel. So if you need to, you want to create a space for opposing counsel and have them upload, files for discovery, that's a really good use case for this. And you can also do that signature process I showed you directly out of the portal. So if this is a legal contract, I can request signature and do that exact same workflow that I showed you guys out of the plugin earlier, choose that template and send it out to the client. So portals, just think of it as a central repository for all of your files. Clients can log in and see their own information. You guys can use it for internal storage if you want to in collaboration, but this is just a really good way to centralize everything instead of having clients upload files to you through Dropbox and Google Drive and OneDrive and through unsecured emails. This is a really good way to centralize all that and streamline your whole document organization.
And Jason, one thing I want to mention to everybody is that you may have easily been on the receiving end of this, like for your CPA, like when you upload your tax documents and stuff, like typically your CPA will have something like this. There is a question of how does like in terms of working with like you mentioned like Dropbox or like OneDrive and stuff like that. What's the difference between you using that and something like a dedicated portal solution?
I think it connects to what you were saying before about what the Florida Bar was saying, or Legal Fuel was saying you should do, is that those are free services. If everyone in this webinar types in Dropbox data breach in Google right now, they have a data breach every single year where billions of passwords are hacked and information is stolen. It's just, those are not really, since they're so consumer based, you don't want to bring those products into the business environment. This is basically a made for business version of Dropbox or Google Drive, where you guys segregate this from your normal personal lives, especially if you have staff that have their own accounts of Google Drive and Dropbox. All of that information migrates over to your same account in different ways, through sync or just through logging in with the same email address. You want to have this separated, and the controls that go along with it, and the storage and encryption that we talked about earlier. So I would say it's just a much more professional way to do it. And like I said, there are other ones besides us, but I would recommend doing something that's made for business in general.
Okay. Now, so the idea is that it's this like website, and so, but your client has to be able to log into it and check things out, right?
Correct.
So that's that. I will be honest with you, and Joanne kind of like hit
Joanne
it.
and Helen are killing it right now.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, they hit it on the head. The problem is, okay, so all right, Jason, I've been doing Rocket Matter since what, 2008, 2007. We were in beta. Guess what the number one requested support ticket we get is? That when people email support at rocketmatter.com or call us, what is it?
the ability for, if they're using the client portal, is it for
No.
resetting passwords?
Resetting passwords. So
Yep.
it's not just that it's the attorneys using Rocket Matter that have to, the number one request we get for support is resetting passwords. So the problem that you have as a law firm is that when you employ a client portal, you are now kind of, or if you have like a little app that you give to your clients, you're now in kind of an IT support capacity where the number one concern you're going to get is, how do I log into this thing?
Yep.
So show us like how you've kind of solved this problem, because I think it's pretty clever.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So do you want to go into the why client portals aren't good slide first and then jump into it?
Nah, we'll go through it. But just show
Okay.
us how it works in the do the contrasting thing
Yep.
with the Outlook, and then we'll go through the slides and kind of go a little bit deeper into it.
Yep. And Helen and Joanne said, when dealing with elderly clients, this can be quite challenging. Any thoughts? Joanne said, clients do not like barriers to direct communication with a professional, and yet another link, username and password, is a barrier. I totally agree. So when it comes to law firms, and we also are very popular with CPA firms.
You're just a popular guy.
Just a popular guy in general. In general, we see a portal adoption rate is about 10 to 20% across the industry. The rest of the clients and people you work with, they want to do things through email or through paper-based methods, or just something that doesn't require a lot of logging in or remembering where to go. And the best way that we solved how to do that is through our Outlook plugin. And you guys saw a glimpse of this when I showed the e-signature earlier. But let's pretend like our client Tom Hanks, he's not good with technology. We need to send him some files. How do we do this in a secure way without making it a super difficult process for him? So when I click on the plugin, it gives me three different options here: send files, request files, and request signature. So if I'm going to send him a file, I click on that, and you can drag and drop or click to upload. And let's say it's a bank statement. So it's a sensitive file. Obviously, we don't want anyone else to see this. Before I send this to the client, the way that we do this in a really clever way is through a security question and answer. So we have a few different pre-written questions. You guys can create your own whenever you're sending them as well. But it just depends on what kind of law you guys do. But let's say I want Tom Hanks to type in the last four of his phone number in order to access this document. And that's more of an easier one, but it can range to be a lot more difficult depending on what you guys want. And let's say the answer to that is 1, 2, 3, 4, just as an example. You can choose to expire this document as well, as we mentioned earlier. But I'll create this link and we'll paste that file into the email. You'll notice there's no actual file attached here at all. We're not using Outlook's public email servers to transfer this physical file. And along with this, since we are just sending an encrypted link, you can send those really large files that we talked about. Click send, and that's it.
Right. So then it's not really that graphic is just kind of like a graphic. It's not the file itself. It's actually the link, so that whenever the recipient receives it, they click on it and then they'll get challenged with whatever kind of like. So are you going to demonstrate it right now?
Oh yeah, I'll show the side as well.
Okay.
And really what we're doing and why this works so well is that we're still using a client portal. Right now I'm in Gmail, but when I click on download files as the client, I'm redirected to the secured client portal where that file resides. So we're still using a client portal process. We're just tricking the client into thinking it's through email. It's a very clever way to get that client adoption up and get those people that have trouble using passwords and usernames to actually access documents. So the logo is here. So your firm logo will be right here. They'll know it's you guys. It looks really professional. I need to answer this question and I get my document. That's it. Really simple, as good as it gets while still maintaining security. And I want to show the other side. If I need a file from a client, which for you guys is half the equation, let's say from Tom Hanks, let's say he's opposing counsel and I need discovery, right? I'll send him I'll show you guys how this works and then I'll show you the shortcut. So let's say, please send to me when you can. Click on the plugin, and the other option we had here is request files. When I click create link, it's very simple. It pastes into the email, click here to upload files. So when we send this to a client or whoever we're asking files from, they click on this link and it will bring them to this screen where it will say, Michael Jordan Law is requesting files, drop files here, click to upload. They don't have to create an account. They don't have to, and you guys don't have to create an account for them. They just click on it and say, okay, here's all those files I promised you. It's submitted to you with 256-bit encryption. You guys will get an email notification saying a file is waiting for you, and it's stored on the portal with that encryption. That's the whole process. But in this situation, I sent an individual email to somebody specifically. If it makes sense in your workflow, if clients are constantly needing to send files to you, what you can do is take this request to files link and place it into your signature. This means that clients can initiate the process themselves, whether it's a sensitive file or if it's a file that's normally too big for email. They can click on this link from any email from you or your staff, send you a file immediately without having to ask you for a link first, and it ensures that it's encrypted. Additionally, every file that's uploaded through this means is scanned for malware and viruses. So that means if you guys mandate those files are uploaded through this link, you won't receive any infected files into your system from clients or anybody else that's sending files to your client.
No COVID files.
Exactly.
So,
no COVID files.
Okay. So people are like very impressed with the demonstration. So one question somebody has is, does the file have to be in a client portal to use that, or can you link out files on our server local drives? And from the way that I understand the technology to work is that the file that is like on your local drive, but when you attach it through the email, it automatically uploads it into the portal behind the scenes, sends the link to the client, and then the client goes and gets it. So even though the file might live on your local machine, it's going to, when it transmits by way of the portal. Correct, Jason?
Yeah, and that file I uploaded, Discovery, is already on the portal for us. And the important thing to remember here, if they're uploading that file and it goes to your email and it's just resting there in your email, that defeats the purpose. That means we're sending files through public email servers. You're still going to get the link and it's going to live on your secure domain that you guys own. So that file is going to be stored here for whenever you need it. If you want to download it onto your hard drive, you absolutely can. You can delete this version if you want to, but to maintain security, we want it to stay on the portal during the transmission process.
So a bunch of you guys are asking like product specific questions. I'll let Jason follow up with you after the webinar so he can like kind of answer these. Jason, why don't we wrap up with the remaining slides, which are very few, and we're almost at the hour. So, all right. Oh, look at that. Excuse me, 1 second. This is always challenging for me, is to, I run a software company, but switching back over, not the easiest. All right. Okay. All right. So, what's kind of interesting about, this Imagine Share technology, from my perspective, it's kind of like this invisible portal. It is a portal, but the way you interact with it is through email. So, but these points are true, that clients have trouble creating accounts. They forget their login information. They don't remember how to get there. You have to constantly maintain files and folders, and you spend hours playing tech support for your clients. Now, one of the things is we were in the process of redesigning our portal, but we've kind of put a pause on that because we like this technology so much that we are going to just integrate directly with Imagine Share for the e-signature portion of it and the portal portion of it. And that's going to be happening in early 2021, because this is exactly what happens, is that law firms think it's a great idea to offer a client portal, but then the rubber meets the road and they have to spend all their time on tech support with their clients, and their elderly clients have trouble using it. So we kind of like, there are what we might call objections, or like kind of things that we believe about file sharing, about secure file sharing, and how we currently do our things. And we felt that this was important to present, and we want to grab your attention. And so we're doing it, and it's going to be acted out by the Oatmeal's Mantis Shrimp, from the famous Oatmeal Mantis Shrimp cartoon. And you haven't read it, you have to read it when I send these slide decks out, and the log from Ren and Stimpy. So my clients have never had any issues with files I've sent them. Jason, true or not true?
So the truth here is you guys have no idea if that's the case. So whenever if a client information is stolen, this is not a situation where the hacker is going to send you a thank you note saying, hey, thanks for sending that unsecured. I got everything I needed. You guys really don't know if that's the case. Nobody ever thinks that the breach starts with them. When I talk to a CPA firm, they'll say, oh yeah, some of my clients have had their stuff hacked, but I don't know how that happened. I think it might have been with their lawyer. And you guys say the opposite. You blame it on the CPA. So no one thinks that they are the epicenter of a data breach, but it's something you just can't know.
We're too small. Hackers don't care about us.
Right. Hackers don't attack size. They attack weakness. The firms that have an entire IT team and infrastructure, they're honestly much stronger than you guys. And there's different ranges of hackers too, right? There are people that are spamming your phone all the way up to people that are hacking giant corporations. But the basis is they're really attacking things that don't have much security, and a lot of you guys don't have the bandwidth to have a huge IT team managing your infrastructure at all times, and that's really easy to steal information from.
Okay. We've never had we're going to have to do a speed round here because we're at the hour. So, anyhow, and we've done our demo. So I had another awesome picture of the ShamWow guy. Now, just so people know that if you are a Rocket Matter customer, or if you become a Rocket Matter customer, if you sign up this month, you get 50 free e-signature sends from the Imagine Time folks using the Imagine Share product in a month of Imagine Share. So all sorts of goodness coming your way. Now, wait, here's the Florida Bar CLE number. It's 4313. And remember, it's a hat trick. 1 hour of general, 1 hour of tech, and 1 hour of ethics. So you guys got a lot of credits done today. Now, would you like to, Jason, be our man so you can go in and you can pick someone at random who has been involved either with the Q&A or in the chat? I'll let you pick someone at random to get the elf.
Okay, you want me to do it live right now?
Yeah, live right now.
I'll close my eyes and just scroll, and then whoever I land on gets it. And it's Craig Blaine is the winner.
Craig, congratulations. So if you're still on, Craig, you have to send an email to larry@rocketmatter.com and say, we want the prize, the elf.
Robert Wells said recount. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, and we will send you the elf, and all will be good in your life. And thank you very much. So Jason, I have your email address.
Craig said he never wins anything. Yeah, here's my email address, guys. If you have questions or interest in Imagine Share, please send me an email. I'll be happy to respond as quickly as I can. And I'm
Larry@rocketmatter.com. By the way, this guy, what Craig said, it's like when we give these prizes out, whether it's the tortilla blanket or the Garfield socks or this elf that shoots balls out of its mouth, like, people get so excited. They're like, I never win anything. This is beautiful.
This is not McDonald's. This is not an inside job. It's it's a real winner. That was completely random. So Craig, congratulations.
Everybody, thank you so much for being part of the Rocket Matter webinar series. Appreciated all your wonderful participation and questions today. Would like to thank Jason so much for your participation and all the folks at Imagine Time.
Thanks so much, Larry.
Bye, everyone.